every other day now.
Yeah, I started to call you this morning when I first heard about it.
It's
And
crazy.
then I just said, I don't even know if I want to can handle a whole conversation first thing in the morning about all,
I I can't.
all the,
I would no.
it's too
I can't even
much.
do it. Well, I guess after a while, it's happening so much that
Yeah,
you just almost desensitized. I mean, I hate to say it, but
yeah,
and that's sad. I don't feel any shock anymore. I don't feel any like, and that's sad. But I don't feel any shock. 8 people. It's like okay, 8 people. And that's really pretty sad. But
I mean, I feel sick, just a sickness going on.
it
Uh,
is. But it's not shocking anymore. That's what I'm saying. Is you're just not shocked anymore.
yeah,
It's not normal. You feel sad, but you're not shocked. It's like, really, again?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, ladies.
Gio, how
Hi,
you doing?
Venita.
I
I'm
miss you.
okay. Miss you too. You
I'm so happy
enjoyed
to
it?
see you.
Yeah, glad to
Oh,
be here.
yeah. You guys haven't seen each other in a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a good while, a very good while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a relaxing day on my birthday, but once you get past 25, Gio, you just glad you got up in the morning.
Isn't that the
I was
truth?
I was glad I got to the grocery store to get the home pride, oatmeal bread and got back in one piece. I was very grateful for that. You know, you're just
Grateful too.
grateful. Yeah, you don't even think about it anymore. It's like you're just grateful you can do what you need to do and come back to your safe haven in one piece. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
I'm glad you made it back so I can see you today.
That's what I'm saying, GL. Yeah. Yeah, Michelle and I laugh all the time because that's one of my biggest fears is the grocery store. Not because I don't like groceries, just because I always see Michelle and I have an inside joke. It's like I go to the grocery store, I am speeding because I don't know. You look, you don't really browse anymore.
Hmm.
I stopped that when COVID started happening. No more browsing. You got your list. If they move
Yeah.
it in the store for marketing purposes, we don't get it that day because I'm not looking for it. No matter what it is, even if it's something I went there for, only for, you will not get it because they moved it. And now I have to go down all these aisles to look for it, and that's never going to happen.
Yeah, you really have to practice your own safe measures because these vaccinations aren't working, and people lying. Okay, other people lying about it.
I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh, Georgette. I'm just laughing out of nervousness.
No, but hey, it's true. It's true. Hmm. But that
So
was
we
that was your last cluster. That was about your
Yeah.
last cluster.
Yes. Oh God, I missed you, Georgette. I needed that laugh. I just needed that. That was good. That was good, Georgette. That was good.
well, we might as well go ahead and get started because I don't know where Rick is. I just sent him a message, but uh, he hasn't responded. And Venita said couple of minutes ago that he's been like having some sleep issues going on. So maybe he fell asleep because I did chat with him earlier today. So, I know he knows about it. But anyway, we're here. And I also was kind of expecting one of my ex-sister-in-laws to join us in this group, Cheryl, but I haven't connected with her today. So I think we should go ahead and get started. And and I just want to say for Gio's benefit that we are a little bit more relaxed in this group, I think, than Then with the Black feminists, we have not been sharing, writing the notes and questions. Usually I do it, if I'm in the mood to do it, but if I'm not in the mood to do it, then I don't. And we just have these couple of standard questions. And a part of the reason that I think I got into that habit with this group, it was just me and Rick and Venita. Oh, Rick said the link is not working for him.
He hit the top one. You got to hit one underneath. Maybe he tapped the first one instead of the second one by accident.
Okay.
Make that suggestion.
Oh, here he goes.
Okay. Okay.
Hey.
Hey, Michelle. So sorry. I was clicking on the link. It was sending me to a Facebook error page. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
Rick.
No problem. I was just, this is Gio, Rick, Georgette, Moses, and Rick Terry. Georgette is a member of my other book group, the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. So she's a good friend of me and Venita's from, a ways back. And I was just saying to her that we're a little bit more relaxed in this group than in the other one, because in the other group, we share facilitation. We rotate facilitators every week. And if you're the facilitator, it's your job to write a summary and questions. And we haven't really even talked about doing that in this group. But Rick is one of my ex-coworkers, Gio, and he and I used to share an office. And it was a French-based company. And so the bosses were in France and Canada, and me and Rick were just in this lovely office and over on 3rd Avenue. And
we knew it was coming. We were like, yeah, they're spending money for nothing. Something's coming.
And so we just kind of, spent hours and hours talking, getting to know each other while we waited for the
Sounds like a perfect job. Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
It lasted longer than I thought. It lasted 6 months longer than it should have. So, at least.
Yeah. So I knew that if there was nobody but me and Rick in this group, Rick alone could talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah.
I stopped. I'm trying real hard.
I wasn't worried about it. And, and I know Venita can talk her butt off, so I don't worry about it. But I think when I started the Global Black Feminist, I was starting out with mostly strangers. And I didn't want us to have
danger.
Well, I didn't want us to have long pauses trying to figure out how to talk to each other and that kind of thing. And, and I really like good conversations that, kind of cycle through all of the various issues that come up in the text. And so I like having a summary and I like having questions. And I think it's worked well in our other group. We just hadn't gotten into doing it here. I don't feel a need to always write the agenda. So if anybody else ever wants to do that, please just say so. It's fine. But anyway, that's how that's kind of how that came to be the way it is. So let me welcome everyone to Reading for Change, a collective journey. This is now the second book that we are reading together. It's called Debt. I can never remember subtitles. This one's pretty easy though. Debt, the First 1,000 Years by David Graeber. And this is the updated 2014 version that we're reading. We are starting tonight. I think we have 14 discussions on this book through July 30th. So basically we're here on every Friday evening with a break or two thrown somewhere in there. Did everybody find the schedule for this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You can learn more about Reading for Change. We have a Facebook page called Reading for Change. And we also have a YouTube channel called Reading for Change, where all of the videos of our previous discussions are housed. And all of the literature right now says that Rick and Michelle are co-hosting this series because Venita wasn't sure she was going to return to us, Rick. She wanted
I was wanted to go to another team. Draft season can reveal lots of internal divisions in the team.
I wasn't trying to desert my people. I really wasn't trying to desert my people.
We know you wanted to go to that other YouTube channel. We know. We know. It fell through, but we heard about it.
No, I didn't want to desert you, but I do work part-time, and it's been a little bit trying because they're trying to do a little more than part-time, and I'm not trying to do more than part-time. I'm trying to do part-time just to stimulate. Okay. But so we had a lot of things going on. Make a long story short, I wasn't quite sure, because after that last birthday, I'm getting exhausted much easier these days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I said, okay. And then we wanted to make sure everybody was like, I don't care. I was going to be here, Gio. She knows that. She just trying to, she's always got, Michelle got something. She always trying to start something. Okay, just because Gio. And then she said Gio was going to be here. Also, Rick is fabulous in every way. That's my little sweetheart. But she said Gio's going to join us. I said, what? And she said, yes. I said, well, all right.
Yeah, and I just asked Gio this week if she wanted to join us because I think, Gio, were you watching some of our discussions from the other book on the plague?
Oh yeah, you guys are cracking me up. Mm-hmm.
Well, we had just gotten so, Venita and I were so worn out with this book. We were just like, just let Rick talk.
Yeah.
No, but wait, I was really interested in this chapter showing how politics can mess up public health policies and scientists have to struggle with funding. You remember that chapter?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The whole book. Every single chapter is about that. We get it. HIV, we get it.
Oh God, we had a book on HIV within the book. I mean, we had an entire book.
Which is interesting on its own, but you're like, it's the 7th time.
Thank you.
Get it. Let me guess. Poor people get screwed by rich people who don't want to care because they can get free medications.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
So instead, Gio, because Rick is such an interesting a person, and he really is, we just kind of left the scene. We were here physically, but we had left the scene mentally. So we know that Rick has a plethora of information circulating around that beautiful head of his. And we know no matter what happened, that the audience and we were going to learn a lot about anything that we did not know before.
I cannot run for president anymore with those videos. They're really coming back, and you know how Republicans will react to those.
So we won't worry,
not born in America. I actually am, which is strange.
Yep. We made Rick was the front man.
So we are glad to be through with that book. So anyway, so tonight we are on chapter 1 called On the Experience of Moral Confusion. And next week we're on chapter 2 called The Myth of barter. And it seems like there was something else that I wanted to say. But I guess maybe it will come to me later. Let me go ahead and I'll read the summary, which I put a quote up there. It doesn't come out of the book, out of the chapter, but it's a quote I was thinking about as I read this chapter from the Bible. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Truly, I tell you, it is hard for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of God." Chapter 1 on the experience of moral confusion opens the volume Debt, the First 5,000 Years by David Graeber, with a description of how injustice shows up in the example of third world debt. It reviews how violence has been used throughout history by men to impose debt on their conquests. And it looks at historical and religious arguments about debt and explores issues from the 2008 crash. The assumption that debt must be repaid, so ingrained in human culture, inspires anthropologist David Graeber to examine the source of this belief and its impact on humanity. The relationship between France and Madagascar, the conquerors and the conquered, offers a window to the nature of third world debt, where money flows from the poor to the rich. For example, the Malagasy people were required by the International Monetary Fund to relinquish a needed health program to direct funds to debt payments. Quote, "For thousands of years, violent men have been able to tell their victims that those victims owe them something," wrote Graeber. The author examines several types of relationships where violence and the threat of violence have been used as the means to determine a debt is owed. These include countries that have been forced by international courts to pay reparations, like Germany, countries that have at one time been attacked and conquered, like Madagascar, countries where the winner is punished with debt, like Haiti, and empires that demand tributes and protectorates that must loan money in the form of US Treasury bonds. Graeber locates our attitudes about debt in religious teachings. Most human beings have been told they are debtors, which has yielded continual outrage and resentment. Arguments about debt have been going on for at least 5,000 years. Arguments about who really owes what to whom have played a central role in shaping our basic vocabulary of right and wrong, he wrote. This includes words like reckoning, redemption, guilt, freedom, forgiveness, and sin. The invention of money was a critical juncture in human history that allowed debt to be reduced to simple business calculations without regard to impact on human beings and relationships. The history of debt reveals profound moral confusion, from the idea that paying back money is a simple matter of morality to the idea that those who lend money are evil. Usurers often rank among the richest and most powerful people in their communities, yet the very name usurer evokes images of loan sharks, blood money, pounds of flesh, the selling of souls, and behind them all, the devil, often represented as himself a kind of usurer, an evil accountant with his books and ledgers, or alternately as the figure looming just behind the usurer, biding his time until he can repossess the soul of a villain who, by his very occupation, has clearly been compact with hell. Our poor understanding of the nature of debt is also examined through the lens of the 2008 market crash that bailed out banks, while leaving everyday people holding the bag. And you're it. Rick, I remembered as I was reading what I wanted to say, I wanted to ask you if you knew that David Graeber passed last year.
Yes, and surprisingly enough, he was not named in the New York Times in memoriam of authors who died last year.
Wow.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked because he was famous, even if many people contested him, even in his field, anthropology. Objectively, he brought something to the table academically. So so I was surprised. I don't know if they forgot it's in New York Times, so it's not like Fox News. I guess their in memoriam would have Tucker Carlson because great intellectual. But now I was surprised, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did lose 500,000 people last year, so.
Yeah, but they name a guy who was translating ancient Greek books in Europe. So I was like, yeah, but there are several like that, and nobody knows him. So I was surprised, like there were specialists in the list, like people you wouldn't know if you're not a translator of ancient Greek or Sanskrit. So why not him? I don't know. I think he wasn't really liked because, to the point of he has paradoxical ideas, talking about the devil, the usurer as the devil. But when we're saying that, we're also saying that people who don't pay their debt are horrible people. So there's a contradiction. Who's evil? Both are evil. It's odd, and he explains that in the book really well. I think this whole moral confusion we have, like you're evil, but if you don't pay the debt to the evil man, you're evil yourself. What?
Right. Yeah. So Gio, we have 3 just standard questions. And so if I'm not in the mood to do specific questions, then we always have those as our go-tos. What, if anything, did you learn in this week's readings? What was the most interesting thing? Or what questions or discussion starters occur to you? So we can start anywhere. I did, because I had so much time to prepare. I did write some questions. Where are all my pictures? I thought I put pictures in here. I guess not. But apparently I didn't take the time to highlight. Of course, from the other book group, we can never answer all the questions I can think of. So apparently I forgot to go back and try to highlight ones to focus on. So who wants to start off the discussion somewhere, anywhere?
I got a question I like. Can I do it? Question 9.
Okay.
Sure.
Right.
So in medieval France, the moral status of moneylenders was seriously questioned. The Catholic Church would often warn usurers that unless they repented and made full restitution of all interest extracted from their victims, they would surely go to hell. Many of the sermons are full of horror stories of God's judgment on unrepentant lenders. Stories of rich men struck down by madness or terrible diseases, haunted by deathbed nightmares of the snakes or demons who would soon rend or eat their flesh. Do you see a certain religious perspective in Biden's plan to have corporations pay a fair share of taxes? How is the world of credit and debt being reshaped by a turn away from religion? Just so you know, the Catholic Church, when they were saying that Graeber doesn't notice. It would have been incredible if he had. Since you can't find your the people you have to restitute the goods to, because it's the Middle Age. There's no nobody's got IDs. Nobody knows who owes what, and most people can't read. So unless you had enough money to go to a guy who knew how to read and write one of these what we call franchises, that comes from there. The word franchise for McDonald's literally comes from there. You were stuck. So how do you not go to hell? Just give the money to the Catholic Church, because it's coming. So it comes back to the victims. You understand, right? So he forgets that. And I thought that was a big omission. And I love the Catholic Church because that's how they got rich. And that's why kings in Europe and aristocrats hate the Catholic Church and always have their anti-popes. Like the Germans had one, the French had one, the French arrested the Roman Pope, and they were all sending anathema to each other's nations. So that's why, crazy continent. Seriously, it's a bunch of savages, Europeans, which we are. But yeah, I thought it was funny. And to the question, I don't know. I think Biden's plan to have corporations pay a fair share of taxes is he's trying to save them from themselves. Because I don't know if you read the latest CIA report on the world. Every 10 years they publish the world in 2030, the world in 2040. Pretty much they say we can turn things around. If we don't, corporations are going to be threatened because people are just going to start destroying them like during the French Revolution. It just went to the castles. People never thought they would do that in 1789. It could have happened this time. And they wouldn't do it in a Marxist fashion, like seize the means of power. It would be pillage. It would be people at Amazon taking up the packages and killing people the managers, because people are just, you see the hatred at the Capitol. I think that hatred is not just running through Trump voters, unfortunately. I think it's general. That's what worries me. So I think that Biden needs to give back the money to the people because we were pillaged enough. Enough is enough.
Yeah. So not necessarily coming out of his religious beliefs, but just his pragmatic approach. Yeah.
I mean, if you want a civil war, you do what Assad did. When people demonstrate, you grab a kid, you slaughter him, send back the corpse with the testicles on his body to the family, and you launch civil war. Hamza, the kid Hamza, nobody remembers Hamza. That's what launched the war. People started from the army grabbing weapons, stealing weapons, and so Assad could have stopped the war by not doing that. You see what I mean? Well, Biden thinks a little bit like that too. Like, if I don't give back money to the people after we gave $4 trillion to corporations that got 55% richer during the pandemic, Marx would be astonished, because technically, when there's an economic crisis, that means there's destruction of capital. No, not here. What? So, we're actually in a communist regime, but just for the 1%. They get a lot of welfare, like top welfare. I love it.
Rick, they've already started that movement. And if you parallel with it, what just happened maybe a couple months ago with Reddit and GameStop. You know what I'm saying? We're going to stick it to the man. In Wall
We
Street,
don't care if it's absurd. We'll use your rules against you, you idiots.
Yes.
And people, I love it how people said, you can't do that, regulate. Wait, no,
Right.
Capitalism, guys. I fought capitalism. Where did that go?
Wall Street went crazy. They lost their freaking mind. and then they tried to use the average investors, which they don't care about me and you, because 70% or more of the stock market is owned by the super wealthy billionaires. But they try to use the average investor as to manipulate the young Reddit takers by saying, well, you're hurting all these people. And I'm sitting there like, well, I'll take one for the team. Y'all go.
I'm sorry. Were you the guys betting on the destruction of a chain of stores that hired several thousand students? You were betting. I mean, these investors were betting against not the little investor, but the little worker. So at one point you're like, you know what, guys, investors, they take a risk. I hear that all the time when things collapse. So they took a risk.
They took a risk.
F them.
But they won. So I'm just saying that I try to parallel that with you saying there's, it's going to be uprising because they're starting it. That's the quiet way. They've just started, but it's going to get crazy, and it won't be through the stock market. They'll bring the whole system down at some point. They're done. They have nothing to lose. They have no job. They have no future. They don't care.
And, I think they wanted to reopen the economy super fast. Oh, sorry.
We see a lot of the crazy, we wake up this morning, and there's the the 8 people dead at FedEx in Indianapolis. The one guy who was on the news talking about it said, as far as he knew, the killer was looking for his manager. He was looking for a specific person. So I don't know how that turns into, well, I'm just going to kill the first 8
But
people.
no, his mother had also called the FBI because she was concerned of his mental health. And that goes also
Yes.
with what's going on in America. When you
Yes.
don't have free healthcare and there's a stigma on mental health,
Yes.
and we know there's a stigma because everybody says you got to be positive about it. And I remember in the 90s being positive about being Black and how it turned out. You know, it's when the media says you should be proud of yourself. You should be, what are you saying? You know, like when women who are not models pose for calendars and like, she's very brave. Could you be more insulting?
Yes, there you go.
I don't. So to me, and right now, this whole mental health issue. So that what happens when you have people, and a lot of teenagers go through a lot of stuff. He's 19, etc. If I had had a gun in my teenage years, I wouldn't be here. Not because I would have killed somebody, maybe, but maybe I would have killed myself. And the thing is, in this country, there are 30,000 casualties by suicide alone, by gunshots, among whom 34% were veterans from the Iraq War. So in America, what astonishes me is this ability to hide under the carpet what just happened. Because Iraq was not that far away and Afghanistan's still going on. And you have all those kids who don't have access to mental health, their families can't take care of them, they become dangerous. And they want to go after their manager on top because the workplace is crazy in America.
And they don't see a future. You know, they don't see a future.
And I'm nothing.
There's a lot going on.
I'm a nobody, so you know what? I'm going to show you a nobody.
That's
that
it.
resentment is very dangerous.
So, but the GameStop thing, you know, was a response from like one class of people, but I'm also thinking about what happened recently at the Amazon, where the workers apparently chose to not unionize. Now we know they were under a lot of pressure from the company to vote that way. But I think along the lines of what you're saying, Rick, if you don't create a way for people to get their needs met, you're just creating this power keg that has to explode, that has to come out in some kind of way. My concern really is, you know, when I look at these Republicans, that they remind me of the boyfriend, you know, the boyfriend that says, you know, if I can't have you, nobody can. You know? And they go on a murder suicide.
I love you so much. I love you so much. Yeah, I know. You saw those movies, like Sleeping with the Enemy. I was 7 and it traumatized me as I will never be that man.
I was taking notes. Yeah, okay. They see this. They got the towels lined up. Okay. No.
Remember that scene? I was like, oh, I do that all the time to Mom. She's gonna kill me.
Well, Amazon's another form of modern day slavery, let's face it. The steel mills and all the factories have left. It didn't take much to bend these people over. Amazon's the only game in town. $15 is better than no dollars. Amazon pressured them, reminded them that we're the only game you got, and reminded them that we're the richest country in the world, company in the world. And if you don't do it our way, we'll just take our company. And they ain't got to threaten. They can actually take their company because they have enough money, close it down, and go somewhere else. So that's what happened. They folded because that is the only game in town for them.
Well, by the way, that's what happened in the company I was in with Michelle. Originally, before I was in New York, I was in Montreal, and they unionized. And so the CEO said, okay, what are the rules to fire everybody? When they're unionized, you need to put the people who are fired, you need an economic reason, you send to the government. Half of the people, you need a severance package, etc. I said, okay, what about if I wait a year oh no, you don't have to. If you fire 49% of the staff, you don't have to put such a plan in. Okay, so he fired 49% the first 6 months, 49% of the remaining the 6 other months, which just left me and 2 other people.
Wow.
And it
That's
was
how you do
legal.
it.
But I was still unionized. But and so what happens is at the end they said, hey, you're the only one left. The union says, since you're the only one left, the union fee is $500 a month. I was earning like $600 every 2 weeks. So I was like, okay, I'm no longer unionized. So that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. So I can't blame the people. They told them we're the only game in town, and they are the only game in town. And contrary to popular belief, those manufacturers that have left are now overseas because the rich companies sent them there to slave them, and they're not coming back. So I don't know why people keep saying that. They're never coming back. Never, ever. There's no reason to come back.
No,
We
they're
have to
going
get
to
paid
Ethiopia.
here. That's what I'm telling you. So whether it's Biden or anyone else, they get there and say, we're going to start bringing the company. And are you crazy? No, they will never come back. The jobs that are gone are not ever coming back to this country again.
I think they are, but in a strange cycle. When China is too rich to have these lousy jobs and we're too poor to refuse them, they'll come back to us, which is already pretty much the case with Amazon, if you think about it.
Right, that's the only way.
Progressively, all the countries that we used to exploit are now becoming richer. At one point, they'll become poor again, we'll become rich, but the earth at that point will be, I don't know.
And that's the only way. That's the only way. If they become so rich, they'll send the jobs back here because we'll be so poor that we won't have a choice to go there and slave in those factories for a fourth of what you used to work for. Not $30 an hour, but $5.55. That's the only way. That's the plan ultimately anyway of the other countries. They're going to pay us. They're going to pay the United States.
10 years ago, my sister had a colleague who worked in jewelry. And for years, they were always talking about the middle class. We need to target the middle class, the middle class. And they had a conference 10 years ago where they said, the middle class is dead. Forget about it. The only stores that are going to survive are dollar stores or high-end lingerie stores. And they're like, we need to go high-end. And everybody was in shock. And the guy couldn't believe it because he was one of those guys who had a cop dad who was beating him. So he was a man, Irish, that kind. And America and the middle class. And all of a sudden he was being told, no, we don't need you anymore.
Wow.
He couldn't believe his ears, but that was like objective analysis from consultants. Nah, don't target the middle class. Doesn't exist. Dollar stores or $10,000 rock.
That's it.
The second part of this question, how is the world of credit and debt being reshaped by a turn away from religion? I think for me, not just even the worlds of credit and debt, but I think as people are less and less religious, and even the people who still claim to be religious are less and less moral. I think that humanity has been able to put a lot of things in place because of religion, because people had these beliefs, whether the belief was you're going to come back in the next life and things will be better, or you're going to go to heaven and things will be better, and you just need to avoid a long trip to hell. So if we don't have, I used to think that as people were becoming less religious, that you really could replace moral concepts with ethics, with values, because do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Yes, it's a moral concept, but to me, it also just makes good sense if you're living in a society with other people, it just makes good sense that you don't want people doing things that are hurtful to you. So maybe don't do things that are hurtful to them. There's a logic to it. But I feel like morality has been replaced with nothing, and that people are rudderless at this point, and that is part of why people seem so lost and crazy. But there's no moral appeal to the corporate world. There's no, you can't argue with politicians or corporations about what is the right thing to do, because right comes out of our sense of morality.
But to your point, they did replace it with something. I don't know if it's against my religion, and Trump was the incarnation of that. If you don't pay your debt, you're a loser. I'm a winner. You owe me money. Winner, losers, winner, losers. Everybody who shoots somebody in America right now thinks he's a winner, and they're denying him his winning. It's always that. I got a gun. Hey, this is my neighborhood. I want it. You can't walk here, you loser. You look like a loser. It's always loser, loser, winner. Every commercial is about, oh, a family found a house, but the other family used an app and found a better house. Why do you need to compare the other family? Compare to another app. In America, there's this idea, if you drink Coke, you're winner. Winner, you eat hamburger there, you're loser. Our hamburger, you're a winner. It's always like that. You feel, and so it's no morality is always based on, it's like the Roman Empire. If I can murder you in your bath, I become the emperor, because that means gods wanted me to win. That's why the empire collapsed, because it's a stupid system. But I think that's a lot of what I hear right now, and nowadays, people are obsessed, with women, men I talk to, it's like, she cheated on me, and not like, oh, my heart's broken. How could she do that? No, it's like, why does this guy think he can, wait, she did it. No, it's about the other guy taking my property. It's still there. So it's not morality. I don't know what it is.
Rick, Geo is one. If we don't make space for her, she will sit there quiet as a mouse the whole time. And but when you let her speak, you often hear the most profound insights. So, Geo, did you have any thoughts on question 9 or anything else?
I thought you made some great points about the involvement or the using of religion as it pertains to the haves and the have-nots, and who's going to keep having not because they owe those who have. And I don't think, we're past the point of regaining any kind of equitable moral footing, because it's just not profitable. Everything has to result in profits for those who make the rules. And so President Biden, trying to appeal to corporations, they're still looking at, well, what do we get out of this? And so, and business rules are designed legally if the company must make a profit. And so for them to actually be equitable, to be fair, to be moral across the board, it will require them to sacrifice their shareholders, right? They're not doing that because they wrote the law that makes it okay for them to not do. It's just an endless cycle that leaves everyone who is in need out of the control loop. So that's one thing I appreciate about this book. I hadn't heard of it. I remember seeing the author during the protest back when it seems like so long ago, but here we are, still fighting the same kind of fights and replacing the housing bubble is the student loan bubble, in which they discussed, after the housing bubble, well, who's going to be the next cow we milk? And it's going to be all those people with student loans, right? So, and to roll that into the student loan question, what does it hurt? Right? They took it out of, was it under Bush that they took it out from under the student loans out from under the government and then allowed private companies to start financing loans. And that turned into like a total circle jerk, you know, uh, and the corruption, right? Because of lack of oversight. How do you get out from under that? How do you find a job to pay for this if something happens to you? And then when it was returned back to, the financing back to the government, then still people, you have exceptions if you fall into hard times, if you become a first responder or a civil servant, or if you're disabled, oh, we can work with you. Okay, you don't have to pay this. But what is the crux is that when they pay when they wipe out the student debt, it turns into income on your income taxes. I'm like, what kind of shit does this make? Okay. So like, I'll just keep paying this shit. Okay, I'm like, I'm not trying to pay the IRS more money. Okay.
It's the Catholic Church all over again.
Exactly.
Georgette,
Exactly.
Georgette, would you read question 5 for us? That's the student loan question.
Sure, absolutely. Recently, activists called on President Biden to cancel up to $50,000 in student debt, which Biden does not seem inclined to do. What are your thoughts on U.S. student debt? What does Biden's determination to cancel no more than $10,000 in student debt say to you about how he views the concept of debt? And then you reference an article
Mhm.
about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's
Anybody? Go on, Gio.
oh, it says he's trying to, not get assassinated. Nobody wants to see pictures of Biden and some children, okay, in a compromised situation turn up suddenly on Fox News. What? No,
He took
they
a
do that
guarantee.
stuff.
He took a guarantee if they shoot him, Kamala is president.
Oh,
So we be like,
yeah. Well, look, those numbers. I mean, those alphabet people are some serious cats.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about student debt, Venita? You used to work in a financial aid office at a college. What are your thoughts on this question?
Well, it depends on whether you're going to a community college, a state college, or a private college. And I think a lot of the controversy is as it is with the stimulus package and the monies that people have been receiving. People are so worried about folks receiving a break that shouldn't, opposed to people getting help that need it. So one of the concerns, I was reading the article, is that the folks that went to private colleges that have good incomes will still get the same benefits.
Well, it's a sacrifice we have to make.
It's the same way
Right.
with the stimulus. It's the same with the stimulus. There's an assumption that if you make $30,000, that you're in more need than a person that makes 70 or a person that makes 80. That's the furthest from the truth. Because the person that makes 70 or 80, because of them making a measly $70,000 or $80,000 a year, they don't qualify for a lot of the programs that the person is making 30 or 20 does.
Mhm.
Period.
That's true.
So they're stuck in the middle. They get nothing. The people way above them, maybe in the $150,000, $200,000 range, can afford to send a child to college or helps them to college. But it's those other ones in the middle get stuck with nothing. The people that make $20,000, $30,000 a year, from working in financial aid, there's a lot of stuff out there for you. There really is. And one of my job, well, my job wasn't my job, but I made it my job to tell folks about things that other folks didn't seem to tell folks about, that was available to them. But it seemed to me when I first started, there only a select few knew about these other programs, scholarships, handouts, everything there was for folks that, you know. So no, that's not true. So when people say that, it really upsets me. Because if you're working, you're just working to pay your bills. Now, again, a person making $30,000, but that's why a lot of times folks say, you know, during the COVID, I don't need to go to work. I might as well stay home. Because if you're making a 70 or 80, you're paying the daycare to go to work that you can't afford. You're getting in more debt trying to go to work than you would if you would just go sit down. To be honest with you, you know, and I can't say, you know, because okay, well, you won't have, you know, be able to own your home, but if you're making $70,000, you're not owning the home anyway. So you might, you know what I'm saying? So it's people are just so small mind. Their mind is like really, really small because that's an assumption because you're making more that you're doing better. Well, the average child to go to daycare is anywhere in the state of Connecticut from, I'd say on the low end, $500. That's very, very low end to $1,000 a week. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And they're struggling trying to send their child to school. You know, I miss, you know, so that's my thought is that, you know, stop being petty. Don't worry about who's getting what. It will benefit enough people. And you know what I'm saying? And for those that get something, whatever, it's always going to be that way. That's the way the world is made. No worries. Just worry about taking care of those because what they're doing is destroying the economy. If they start worrying about the economy, they're destroying it. Those group of kids, the millennials, and a lot of the Generation Zs, is it, Rick, are they Zs? That 40-something group, who are they?
I don't know.
Well,
I was
those,
shutting the light. No, it's Generation Z, but you know those things don't really make sense technically.
yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that these generations, the older people are working longer. They can't. The younger people can't hold the job. The economy is going to come to a screeching halt at one point because nothing's moving.
But the worst part is they noticed a very big issue. So we're supposed, my generation is supposed to succeed the boomers, so-called millennials. And we're at an age, I'm 38, we're no longer, you know, those annoying young millennials. No, we're not young. We're like in our 40s.
Yes.
And we're supposed to be we were supposed to become the homeowners, etc. We haven't become that. And because when we finished our studies, in France, we used to be called the 1,000-year-old generation already because we barely, like, we squatted. I remember we lived in a squat, some of us, because it's impossible to get an apartment in Paris, whatever, regulations. But then the crisis hit in 2008. So after we graduated, we didn't get a job. I like interim work. I was a mover, wielder, you name them. Then later, finally, when we finally get all a normal, expected per the American dream, blah, 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 post-World War II world, promise of a life like that, we finally start getting it, 35, 36, 37, 38, pandemic hits. So our generation has not built anything durable. The next generation has nothing in legacy. I mean, we're not going to leave a trace, millennials, in the history at all.
Nothing.
This is the crazy part because we weren't able to build anything. And by the way, for 20 years, hearing people saying, "Oh, you millennials are shallow," when people could barely eat, had student debts, were doing lousy jobs for years, like working. But I know guys who have master's degrees who work at McDonald's as cashiers. Master's degrees.
I know some.
So, you know, so at one point we're like, yeah, well, good luck, everybody. We couldn't really help. We're sorry. Yeah, we're lousy millennials. Remember us like that. Bye-bye.
Yeah, because
Lord,
because it's not your fault.
it's not.
You know, and that's the thing, and that's one of the things that's kind of hard for me when I look at the some of the anger that goes on among the generations. You know, younger people looking at older people like, shut up, get the hell out of here. You know, we don't want to hear what you have to say because you guys failed. You know, you didn't solve the problem. But to me, it's like there are all of these bigger than life, bigger than us, pulling of the strings, you know, all of these, the kind of systems that we're talking about here in this book, all of this stuff that is conspiring against the majority of human. We are the 99%.
But think
You know,
about it.
that is conspiring against the majority of people, and no one generation
But-
can. I mean, we're about to read a book talking about the first 5,000 years. We are talking about trickery and fuckery that has been taken to,
Test
you
it.
know, new
Test it.
levels of. It's deep shit. It's
But-
deep shit.
I just
And
thought about
so-
something. The
And,
whole-
and so we don't have time to fight each other, not based on color, not based on age, not based on gender or anything else.
But still the idea of debt. White people being racist towards black people. You should be happy where you are.
Yes.
You see the idea? You owe us. Wait, no, you owe us the White House. We gave you the opportunity to build it for free. What? So, but generation, same thing. You boomers, you took a debt we're not going to be able to pay back. Why are we angry? Don't pay it back. We're not going to get retirement funds. Who cares? We'll steal it from the government. Why are we so not the first thing that shocks me in our generations is that the first time in history, instead of saying what the old people did is sucks, I'll build something better, we're like, we can't build something better because they screwed it for us. And it's this whole idea that we're not at fault, and you know, it's odd, but debt really works. Like, hey, these old guys stole all the earth for you. No, they didn't. My parents didn't. They weren't consuming like crazy. But big corporations, you know, it's always like, hey, you need to recycle. What about the big corporations that take water from the ocean and rivers to fill bottles they sell us back? And the plastic kills. Okay, what about corporations that destroy, like what happened in Florida recently? Yeah, by the way, there's some radioactive stuff that could, you know, whatever. What radioactive? Yeah. They never have to make an effort. But we were guilty. You have not cut your little beer stuff. A turtle's gonna die. The turtle's already dead. What are you talking about? Dolphin's already dead. It's not my little thing that kills him. It's the huge fish nets in the ocean.
The electric grid situation in Texas.
It's because they didn't
a couple of months ago. And now people have debts for $17,000.
We didn't provide service, but we tried. So it's money. Give us. You owe.
It's insane.
Beautiful.
It's insane.
Well, it's another part of usury. I mean, I look at the average charge card for some people, it goes up to 24 and 25%. Okay, 25% on a charge card. Now, they have usury laws, but look how loose they are. Much like the Balbonis on the corner. Okay, they have the usury laws because of this, but they're so loose. You can charge somebody 25% and higher. I've seen them 26% on a charge card, and you don't call that usury.
Right. Right.
So they said, so it's all just a game. It's just an illusion. Well, we have this law in place. However, you could take them to the bank, 26% if you want to. Really?
Because there is no right or wrong. If we're gonna throw morality out the window,
Mhm.
then the only law in effect is survival of the fittest, is might makes right.
That's it.
That's all there is. And so you're gonna charge somebody 25% because you can.
Because you can.
And by the way,
Because you can.
the functioning of debt, which is crazy if you think about it with credit cards, is that if you don't pay back, they call you, they insult you, you know what they do, but you become their property a little bit. You're no longer free. In a way, your time, there's a beautiful sentence from Thoreau in Walden where he says, dear reader, you might be borrowing some time you don't have from your debtors. But please take this minute to read my book. But it's the 19th century. And you're like, wait, there's this strange thing about debt. It's more about power than money. It's, the debt from Madagascar, Haiti, and Africa has been repaid twice already. But with the interest rate, my country in France, we don't have an economy. We don't have natural resources. How are we still the sixth economy in the world? Thank you, Africa.
Yeah.
Very sad.
By the way, we were supposed to cancel that in Haiti. Sarkozy was like, yeah, we're going to cancel it. Oh, poor people with their earthquake. Then it became super silent. It's still on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so human beings, let's do a lightning round. What's the most interesting thing from this chapter for you? I'm going to start. I'm going to steal Venita's. The story.
Look at Venita's face.
TG.
The story about the fathers who borrow money so that they can pay for their daughter's wedding. And then the daughter has to go work as a concubine for several months from the usurer. And then she's got to go spend a couple of years as a prostitute. And then she can start her marriage. I'm just never cease to be amazed at the madness to which human beings have. Now that was what, 1500 medieval times or something.
No. I grew up in Asia, in Thailand and stuff. Poor families, that's what they do. They send the eldest daughter, you're 18, you go to Pattaya. Mm-hmm. Don't tell us what you're doing. And people are like, this is immoral. Guess what? Yeah, but the other daughters will not live through that and go to college. Happens, same thing in Morocco. I saw the same thing in Morocco, very Muslim. Okay. They know the girls in the Medina, which is the not the Medina, the central part of the city where you have the bazaar. The poor part, you see those beautiful Moroccan girls, like teenage, like 18, 19, beautiful, like in the middle of normal people of the country, dressed all normal. She looks like a model. You know what she does? She pays. So she goes to the barber at the neighborhoods. She goes at the neighborhood's barber and hairdresser. So everybody benefits from her. And she brings back money that feeds her family of 30 siblings. Because, it's an extended family in the Muslim world. It's not just your brothers. You have your half brothers, half sisters. You have a cousin. The whole family lives together. Nobody talks about it. Everybody knows. Nobody utters the word. She brings money to the neighborhood. So, Europeans are like, oh, this is immoral, like children working. But the problem is we made that possible. We created these situations in those countries. And we as tourists come and want to save them. I've always found that astonishing when we're in Vietnam, like, oh my God, they're so poor. Yeah, guess why? And so, My point is that
All right.
still exists.
What's your most interesting thing from the chapter, Rick?
I think it's the conversation he has at this cocktail party where he's invited at the very beginning. And he's introduced to that girl who so-called is, a lawyer for human rights, doesn't know what the International Monetary Fund is. So it's probably just, Instagram model of that time. And he tries to tell her about how debt killed 15,000 Malagasy children when the IMF asked that the debt be paid. Otherwise, the malaria program was gone. 15,000 to 20,000, 25,000 in 2001, not like in the 15th century. And she's like, yeah, but if somebody contracts a debt they need to pay for, he had explained that the debt was from the conquerors saying, hey, we're bringing you civilization. That costs a lot of money. What? What? You got to repay. You killed us. Yeah, but it's for your own good again. And she doesn't understand. And in the end, the only thing she thinks about is that, yeah, but if somebody has a debt, somebody's got to pay.
Right.
And that shocks him, this moral imperative. He just explained how 20,000 kids died of something stupid. Like, you really need the money from Madagascar?
Right.
You'll make more money out of iPhones.
That's what inspired him. Right?
That really, I've been in so many conversations like that at embassies and stuff when I was a kid, where people, you don't understand how the people in power, like, you know what? Here's the thing: they're not thinking that well. They're like animals. They know what's good for them, but they manage to bullshit themselves in believing they're good people. And it's impressive how sincere they are. And this is why it's scary. They're scary because of that, because I'm going to help you. Let me lend you some money. You're not paying back. I helped you. They believe in it. And I think that's a part of the 1% we never show, that they're not conspiracists. They know naturally what's good for them, and they don't understand that you don't understand. Are you a loser? A sinner?
Gio, what struck you about the chapter?
Well, you took mine too. I had highlighted that and everything. I guess we were thinking the same.
Well, that's
Why
what
the
I'm
poor
thinking.
woman?
It's like, but I guess they had no choice because, of course, women have never been of any value, it seems, and they got to marry her.
On the contrary, that's why women were enslaved and treated like that. Graeber's going to talk about it. There's value matrices. That's how it started in the tribal ages. We need to renew the lineage. Let's go pillage and grab some women property.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, when they marry the girls off, or they're doing what they do to be able to take care of the rest of the family. Well, of course, they are valuable, in that way. If you get married, then you got to go down the street for a couple of months and then go over there for a couple of years before you make a stop at the house. That's a lot.
But it's still debt to the father. Still the problem of debt. The daughter should say, screw you, family. I don't owe you, and leave. But no, they feel that what they're doing is moral.
But where are they going? That's another thing. A lot of these are
they're going to brothels and it's horrible.
Right.
But they think, I'm helping my family. No, your family's asking you to do that. Run. But then people say you abandon your family. You owe your family your life.
But I just have to ask the question, what does the husband think by the time she gets back there to him and she's kind of like worn out? Okay. Okay. Has he been fooling around with somebody else while she was gone, while he was waiting for her to finish paying off the debt?
There's worse.
Probably.
What if she discovers my clients were better than you?
Oh, she's not coming back.
I run away.
And that's an option too. I'm like, that's not a bad idea. I mean, what the hell? I mean, after all that, do you feel like going back to be married after all that anyway? You might as well stay put where you are.
And work the fields until you die of horrible death. Because that's another thing in Pattaya that happened in Thailand. Once they're done, their families come back. They're like, now I got a Gucci bag. Literally. And I think, nothing is black or white. Nothing is right or wrong. We live in a world that is crazy because everybody wants to put categories everywhere. And I think
Yes.
that debt shows that, like good and
Yeah.
bad, but debt is contradictory in itself. You know, what you're gonna do if I
Yeah.
don't pay back? And the real rule, like you said, is the rule of the fittest, because you know, when Germany didn't pay us back, they attacked us first. But then the UK, France, it wasn't for the Jews. By the way, you know, people forget we counterattacked the Nazis and raised Germany. It wasn't necessary. The Russians raped systematically all women they found, and the French too. That's something they never tell about the war in America. There were so many rapes in Italy when the Americans came in Rome that they had to pension women in Italy for 30 years as an indemnification.
Wow.
That's the part of war they don't talk to you because heroes, you know. But what I'm saying is that they everybody thinks that the war was about, you know, saving people, but the reality of it is Germany, you are not a great power. How dare you? Remember who you owe something to. And in Europe, people don't realize that in America, but everybody knows there's our father is Greece, like they say, it's stupid. Our father is Italy, is Rome, our mother is Greece, and France is the eldest daughter of the church. Therefore, France has dominion, and since we had the emperors, over all Christianity. But the Germans came up and said, no, we have. So we always remind them, remember what you owe us. You owe us Christianity. And that's where nationalism, crazy far-right ideas come from in Europe and get to America. And when you see Americans with the Celtic cross, you're like, what? We excluded you. We deported you to America. You don't understand. You weren't part of our race.
Wow.
Yeah,
We got
we got to
history
pay
lessons.
back for that one. We owe you.
We didn't send our best people, by the way. Look at Australia and America. We were like, oh, you're a rapist. Yeah. Oh, we can't control you. No. You want to go there?
See what I'm saying?
Good
Yeah,
point.
we owe you for that one. Venita,
Yes.
what was striking for you besides
That what
prostitution?
I think that probably just stood out more. I'm sorry you took it, Michelle, but that just stood out more to me than that was new. That was very new for me. Very, very, very new. Yeah.
Yeah, it really.
So that was
it really, I think, illustrated the tentacles of this concept of debt, you know. But I think for me, another striking kind of thing is that somebody can just say, you owe me something. And if they have the gun, if they have the muscle, then a debt is created. Here.
Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, talks about when should we have slaves. And he says, well, at war, because at that time it wasn't, slavery in Greece was war prisoners. And the criterion was a true warrior will refuse to submit and will rather die than become a prisoner. Oh, rule of honor. I don't owe you my life. Therefore, no, come and get me. If you beg for your life, you owe me your life, you become my slave. A philosopher managed to explain how debt works, in my opinion, is that I have the gun, I'm not killing you. First place, you shouldn't have tried to kill me, but now that I'm sparing you, you owe me. Otherwise, I come back and it's the mob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You create the debt yourself when you have the gun.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they do.
And that the rest of the world honors and respects and upholds the debt that you claim.
Yes,
It's
that's the sickness. That's the power of money. That's the power. And it'll come down to
it's kind of like this delusional thing that we're caught up in with the former guy who says, you stole the election from me. And it's like he's setting up that we owe him something now.
that's right.
What? What do we owe him?
Because he's been such a great president, even if not
That's
a
right.
majority of people voted for him, who cares? Objectively, you still owe me.
That's right.
It's great. Mental gymnastics, and it works because, let's be honest, if people hadn't come out to vote for Biden massively because they knew the danger, he would have been elected with 5 million votes more than 2016. I
No
didn't know so many
worries.
people loved at that point. I don't know. Like I heard a Republican criticize Biden saying, we don't have tweets every day about what he thinks. Is he really in charge? I'm like, no, that was never the norm.
It wasn't. See what I'm saying? That's how conditioned they are.
He seems to have persuaded so many people that he was robbed of something.
Mhm.
That, I mean, they may have had this multi-state voter suppression plan, packaged and ready to go on November, the day after election. But, the vigor with which they are pursuing that strategy of voter suppression seems to be driven out of this belief that, well, you guys got that off. You stole the presidency from us this time. You got a Jew and a Black sitting up in the Senate now, but it's not going to happen again because we are going to get back what we are due.
And remember,
it's funky kind of dynamic.
During the Capitol insurrection, remember what they were saying, those that believe the election was stolen. We're taking back our house.
Yes.
And I play with those guys a lot when I'm in bars. I'm like, sure. So how much tax do you pay? What? No, tell me. Because I'm going to calculate the cost of Congress. And I'm going to give you a tiny, tiny bit of rock. Because I earn more than you, so I get a bigger rock. If we're going to do things that way, I get a bigger share of the hospital if I pay more taxes, right? But most of the guys who ran against the Capitol don't pay that many taxes. Let's be very blunt and honest for some of them. And there's a reason for that, because they benefit from welfare. It's like these idiots when, I didn't know Obamacare was the ACA.
Yeah.
You maybe deserve to lose your insurance coverage. I'm sorry at that point. Maybe. Let's talk about merit.
Yeah. But that was interesting though. In this chapter to me, the language that is, part of our culture, words like reckoning and redemption and sin and, and how all of that relates to debt. And how, when you really think about it, how much it influences so many of our relationships.
How do you say thank you in French? How do you say thank you in French?
Wait. All right, tell me.
Mercy. It's spelled with an I, but it's the same root, and it's because when the aristocrats were coming in front of us, mercy. Oh, he saved me. He didn't kill me, therefore he likes me. He didn't. Mercy. Wow. And we still say to this day, they won't accept your letters, the government, or any social services, if you don't write at the end the exact formula in the beginning from the Middle Age. And the formula is, depending on the title of the persons, dear sir, madam, if you don't know, dear sir, madam, mademoiselle, you have to put all the three if you don't know, if you know, dear sir, dear madam, I pray you accept my most distinguished salutations, respectful salutations for people higher and for people who are incredible, my most honored and submissive sentiments. To this day, it survives. This mercy, you are the owner.
Right.
Wow. I mean, I was okay. See, I don't know where I can be. I don't know where I can be. I don't know where to go.
Wait, we don't, Venita and I,
Canada.
we don't know what country.
Like, where can we go?
Canada. I went there. The only country in the world where you move from the line of the bus to grab a free journal, come back, and people are like, "Wait, you are here? What? You remember I was here? Yes, come back." And everybody's like, "Yes,
Wow.
please." And you're like, "Are you gonna eat me? You know, like, is this a cult?"
Yes. Are you set me up? Are you set me up? Right. Are you
There
set me up to
are.
rob me?
I mean, I was an immigrant with a temporary work permit. When I had a major health problem, no insurance, no right to the public health insurance, nobody asked for money. They took me in, they helped me. When I was looking for an apartment, they found me one. And the only debate I ever saw in politics, so you have the right, Stephen Harper, the left, and they're all yelling at each other over who takes better care of immigrants. Even the right-wing party was like, we take real care of immigrants. We like immigrants. And you're like, what is going on?
Okay.
Because they need them. They only have 30 million people for a country, the second biggest country in the world with huge resources. And they don't have enough people qualified. So if you're a nurse, if you're a lawyer, if you're an architect, if you're a doctor, if there are actually 40 different works, if you find an employer in Canada, there are 40 priority works. When you get to the border, you just show your job offer, you get your work permit.
Wow.
You got to find an employee in the 40 priority jobs that they list. But otherwise, there are so many ways, and they need people. That's why they created a law saying that if you cross the border between the United States and Canada to get refugee status, you will be denied. You need to come through the Canadian airport. Because otherwise they know, like, people would go from Mexico to Canada directly, and like ICE would be like, hey, why are you not staying? We don't want to, but no, we need to deport you.
I was thinking something, not to change the subject, Rick, when we were talking about strong arming people for their debt. Well, they have a very lovely way of doing it now. It's called Equifax, TransUnion. So if you don't pay your debt, instead of them coming up with the Magnum, waiting outside in the car in front of your house or your place of business, they simply make it so you can't buy anything. You don't want to pay me, you're not going to buy a house. You're not going to buy a car. And on top of that, if you try to get a charge card, you're going to pay 45% for it. So this is
the credit score is astonishing. It means the corporations judge you morally. Are you?
Yes.
Yep.
Are you responsible? Do you pay for
and
your
that's
family?
What it is.
What?
That's what it is. So, and even with bankruptcy, before, at one point before bankruptcy was available for a layman, there was that guilt thing. I remember in the 80s, folks around here, bankruptcy, they would tell you in a minute, I'm gonna enjoy it while I got it. Got that 60-foot boat, got that BMW, that cheap, uninteresting, unarchitecturally interesting home with the hip roof. Damn it. I mean, with the Palladium window, I'm going to enjoy it while I can because I can file Chapter 7. And guess what? They were doing it like it was nothing. So that's when that moral thing went out the window. When middle class were able to file bankruptcy, there goes the morals. Then what happened was so many of them filed bankruptcy multiple times. They started to tighten the rules. The wealthy was doing it anyway before. But the middle class got carried away. They're like, wait a minute, John. Every 7 years, you run up, build a summer home down here by the shore, and this and that, and that, and this, and then you turn around after 7 years and do it all over again. Really, that was happening. So that's where all the moral stuff went out when they started having bankruptcy. Because before you were just stuck with those bills. Oh my God, he owes everybody. And you can hear people talk years ago. He owes everybody. Girl, you don't want to go to them. Don't lend them nothing. He owes everybody. Now that nobody has that. So that's why also too they started tighten with the TransUnion and Equifax and Trans or whoever they are. They'll make it so you don't want to pay us our money. We're gonna make sure you can't live. Because you need good credit to get an apartment, not just to buy a house, but to get an apartment. You need good to go to the hospital. They be running credit checks in the ER. They be like, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm having a heart attack. Yes. Well, if you don't die, you're gonna owe us some money. So what we going? And if you do die, your family's gonna owe me some money. Right. Somebody's gonna owe us some money.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, you need to die because I'm gonna tell you while you're here, it's cheaper if you die. How much is it gonna run me? If you think you have a heart attack, they said, well, I'll tell you this much. If you just stop breathing now, you can cut your costs down, way down. But if you live, and we have to give you oxygen, have you in the ICU, run a stent and all this stuff, you're gonna wish you were dead.
There was a episode of Dr. House about that. He comes into the office, and his boss is there, hotter than usual. And there's this guy who's suing the hospital because despite everybody saying he's dead, House found. You know how he did that. And working in the field, I can tell you he would have been fired a long time ago. You don't do this, even if he's a genius, you don't do things that way. Nobody could survive. You will be wrong one day, whatever. The guy survives. But because he had thought he was dying, he sold his house. He went on a binge party in Vegas, got into debt, and now he survived. So he's suing, and the whole thing is about what do you prefer, life or death? And guys says, but it's true in America, in cancer treatment, dads and moms ask themselves, so if I do that, I get in debt, can't really get my kids to college, but if I live 1 year more, I can see them graduate from high school, but then they're in debt from my cancer treatment and I die regardless, or I die now. How do you make that decision?
That's awful.
And all those pharmaceutical companies now are offering patient support programs. Here's a clue. How about some sort of public option? My reform is not Medicare for all. What I offer is that acute, life-threatening, or heavily debilitating conditions, car accidents, cancer, you name them, covered entirely in full by the US government, taxpayer money. Chronic diseases, private insurers. I'm telling you, they'll love it, private insurers, because that means they don't have to spend millions of dollars on ER and hospitalizations, just get the money from prescription drugs. But Medicare for all would be the best. But in America, I don't see it happening because of
it's not going to happen.
There's so much people who are against it for various reasons. Thank you, Senator Sanders. I read the bill. It makes a lot of sense, actually. Technically, it's not just utopia. He's making really good points. But nobody read it. It's like the new Green Deal. Nobody read the bill.
You read it, Rick.
I was curious, and they're not dumb. But when you listen to television, even MSNBC, it's like AOC is an idiot.
Oh yeah, you know that. They always got.
If you're a woman, don't be attractive and be old if you want to be a politician, because that seems that's the only case you'll be respected. For whatever reason, you're young and you're a little cute. Oh my God, you're the wet nightmare of Republicans.
Oh,
I just hope Matt stays away because
not Matt.
He'd Venmo some money. How dumb are these guys? I'm sorry if I'm cynical. I'm like, don't Venmo that. It's still texting. Haven't they? Oh, I need cocaine. Who does that?
See?
People on the Trump team.
I was
Oh,
about to
see?
say,
You mean Don Jr.? Don Jr. He's a, when I watch his videos, he's really like, and you're like, dude, seriously, come on.
Oh,
You don't know how to do coke.
see, Georgette, that's why Michelle was trying to explain the difference between this reading session and the Black Global Feminist Reading Circle. There is a distinct difference. Okay.
Yes, there is.
We get some good laughs and we feel good when we leave. Because there's not much we don't laugh about. I'm telling you, Georgette.
That's
You'll be
cool.
feeling
That's
good
cool.
on a Friday night. Less structure. And we have Rick. Rick, how you dying? Lord have mercy.
but we've had such heavy topics. I mean, those damn plagues.
Well, yeah, that book was heavy. That was very heavy.
Oh, God. We have
Yeah.
to laugh.
Yeah, but I thought after a while I didn't want to say anything to Michelle, Well, I didn't want to say anything. I just didn't want to say anything because I felt kind of shame behind it because I chose to read the book. And when you make choices, this is what you make. But at one point, I felt like I was just being tortured. I felt like she was just beating me or something. You know how in school they used to make you say the multiplication table, the multiplication table over and over and over again. I mean, that kind of torture.
Oh,
And that's how I felt at some point. I really felt like I wanted to cry. So once in a while, when Rick was calm, and when Rick was there, me and Michelle, we went mute because Rick was talking about the Renaissance and 1620. But we don't even, at some point, whatever it was interesting because I just couldn't. We couldn't remember Michelle. Rick didn't know that, but Rick one night me and Michelle
those last few chapters, and we just we speed read, skimmed.
Let's see if
Michelle
torture works as an educational method. Test, everybody. You have 1 hour. What were the cause of HIV?
Rick, we can tell you now, Rick, but one night when we thought you wasn't coming, because if you weren't gonna make it that night, there was nothing to be seen here. There was no show to go.
You didn't want to talk about HIV again.
Me and Michelle already said Rick is not coming. I said, well, that's that. We both like that's that because we just we could. And one night I think we did. One night we braved it out. Remember Michelle?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Gio saw that video. I don't even know what we were talking about. Everything but the book. What we talking about, Michelle? Gio, I can't remember. We braved it out. I forgot what happened. I don't know if Rick wasn't. Well, I think he was sick.
This book, the Black Feminist is scheduled to be a 90-minute group, right, from 6 to 7:30, and we usually end up going over. This group is scheduled to be a 60-minute group from 6 to 7. But when Rick is here, we're usually here until at least 7:30. But that night that Venita was talking about, we couldn't wait till 7 o'clock to get.
Girl, I was timing us. I'm like, 7 o'clock, wrap it up.
I'm sorry if I'm testing, but my boss is in the hospital. I call if you feel lonely. He's having, I think, but he got his first dose. So he's getting a CT. He's got neurological, he's ER, excruciating abdominal pain and chills, numbness, tingling in my hands and feet.
Wow.
From what?
That doesn't sound good.
That looks like COVID.
Oh, wow.
Logical. In younger people, I mean, I'm asking myself the question if I was a COVID long hauler, because I'm telling you, Michelle, nobody believes me. I talked to the doctor this morning. I know people look at me. That dose changed everything overnight.
So you are feeling like your normal self again.
I don't recognize myself. My energy levels, before, for a year, I thought I was depressed because of the lockdown, whatnot. For 1 hour work, I needed 2 hours in my bed. In the morning, 10 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep, couldn't feel like, I was always like, I'm going to call in sick. I don't feel focused in front of a TV show.
My normal daily existence, yeah. So which vaccine did you take?
the Pfizer. And so I was really tired that day. And I remember my boss was like, you need to deliver that. Rick, come on, you're
Yeah.
late. I know. Go to bed. In the morning, not only did I deliver that in 3 hours, which I hadn't been able to do in months, but
Mhm.
over the weekend, 3 days, people are like, what's happening to you? Who are you? Like, you're very different. And so I talked to the doctor, and there was and she was a student, she was in the ICU. She said, you know what? It's not I don't believe you because you sound like you're saying maybe you could be psychosomatic. You're aware of that. But I saw some strange things in the ICU. I saw some people
Mm.
with late stage COPD survive that. And I saw kids in their 30s who had never had problems die in 2 hours. Says, we really don't understand that thing. She was like, I'm I'm just out of
But
the ICU, still don't get it.
but there's others like you
Mm.
because I've read about others like you. But after taking the
But I
shot,
was
and they
never
were like
tested
long
positive.
haulers. Oh, those are people that were tested positive, or long haulers that after the shot, they have not felt better. You know, they feel good, better than they felt
That's the
ever.
problem with me. I have confounders. I smoke marijuana. So
Oh,
I thought it was linked. Guess what? It isn't. So
Wow.
that's where I'm fascinated at the energy level, and the pain in my body is gone because the doctor was like, your back pain is not to the point that he couldn't, bend my arms or knees. It's like, what's going on? You're so tensed. So they had to give me steroids to just release the tension.
yeah.
Mhm.
Excuse
That
me.
pain is gone. I can focus. I sleep. I listen. It's so many things at the same time that's happening. So I don't know if it's psychosomatic. My brain has a very powerful, and in that case, I should try telekinesis because
Right.
it's really shocking. And I know people don't. And my mother, she doesn't want to talk about it. She had a little hole in her eye. She would see every time because of a previous cardiovascular incident, very minor. So she had a little hole. She got the Pfizer vaccine. She realized after a few days, wait, where is it? It's
What?
gone. So she's taking an appointment with the ophthalmologist to say, could it disappear on its own? Because the ophthalmologist say, don't disappear. Your cells are dead. So I'm like,
Oh,
what did they put in that vaccine?
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
also,
Well, this is like the best argument that I have heard yet for taking the vaccine, Rick.
I don't
Because
know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm delusional
I
because
haven't done it
know.
yet. I was thinking I might do the J&J because it's one shot, but then after they got into the little skirmish this week,
Yeah.
that did not help my vaccine hesitancy. But I have been suffering, as you know, with fatigue for decades now, and my doctors have done nothing to help me with that aspect of my issues.
mhm.
So if this were something that might, because Venita knows, I had, what was it, Venita, that my doctor won't give me? Is it steroids?
Yeah, steroids,
One time, and
prednisone.
they gave me something, and I felt like my old self. I felt like I had not felt in 20 years.
Prednisone. Yeah, prednisone.
Like
Yeah.
the way you're describing, Rick. I felt so good, and I was like begging my
Wait,
doctor,
have you ever
please,
seen
because I was like on 5 days for whatever. I think I had the flu or
the
something.
6-day DPAC? But
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
your doctor's specialty?
Well,
She's a GP?
GI.
You need to
liver
go
specialist.
see. No, you need to go see somebody else. You need to go see a rheumatologist. You are suffering from an inflammatory disease. That's why the steroids help. You need to be re-diagnosed. There's something wrong in the original diagnosis, because if steroids work, they don't want to give it to you because maybe cardiovascular issues. They're very dangerous in some instances, and maybe they're contraindicated. But I think you're misdiagnosed because you were talking about you took prednisone and all of a sudden you were your old self.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
textbook definition of autoimmune diseases.
Well, wait a minute. Prednisone
Well,
actually.
I do have an autoimmune. Well,
Yeah.
I do have an autoimmune liver disease, but I
But
may
go
have
see an
something
inflammatory
else.
specialist.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
an RA, somebody who knows rheumatoid arthritis. These guys are really
yeah,
good also at lupus.
Yeah.
Normally, they
yeah,
should be.
yeah.
So yeah, go see somebody else if you don't feel you're getting not the when you talk about care, it's not just money. It's the intelligence of your doctor.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, you all. Any final comments on the chapter?
Well, I'm glad we live in 2021. So if we have friends or family that plan to get married and they're female, that she won't have to go out for 2 months and then go do another 2 years before she get to a husband.
Yeah.
That's
When you
my
think
final
about it,
thought.
we do have this system without sex.
Yeah.
Basketball players from college, football players
Yeah.
from college. Oh, we
Oh.
trained you. So even if you want to play for the Seahawks, F you. You're going to be drafted to that team for 2 years because we co-own that team. Oh, maybe it's going to destroy your career, kid. We don't care. Oh, it's that there's the system of debt is everywhere. Like Harvard and all these universities saying we're not going to pay the guys who play their asses off during March Madness because they owe us their education. They're already paying. Oh no, right? But even like having their images on video games, they don't get a cent from it. Come on, it's beautiful that they owe us the opportunity. That's another thing Wall Street loves. When there was a 2008 crisis, remember they were offering the opportunity to volunteer for 6 months in finance to get back a job. What? Volunteer in finance? What are you talking about? Yeah, but it's a great opportunity. Every time in America somebody tells me this is a great opportunity, I know he's bullshitting me and he wants me to be under his dependency. I feel it. So, but yeah, I just hope that's my last word. It's everywhere.
All right. Well, you all have a good week.
Yep.
Gio, I will see you Tuesday. Venita, are you coming on Tuesday?
I stop by.
What's Tuesday?
Tuesday. Like Tuesday. What's Tuesday? I might stop by. It depends if I'm not exhausted from Tuesday, but I might stop by.
All right.
But anyway, Rick, it's been a pleasure as usual. Georgette, it's been so nice having
It was a
you.
pleasure too, Gio.
And I'll talk to you guys a little later. Have a safe weekend. I'm glad you're feeling all super and everything, Rick. That's a good thing.
But I'm wondering, maybe this vaccine is not curing COVID in itself, but maybe they discovered something through messenger RNA that teaches your immune system to calm down when it was attacking your own body. Maybe I had an autoimmune disease myself.
Mm-hmm.
My ligaments are so fragile,
So you think maybe the vaccine is calming down your nervous system?
Your immune system, because
your immune system. I beg your pardon.
What scientists are thinking, a vaccine cannot be a therapeutic. It doesn't work that way. In normal science, it's a paradigm revolution. That means that maybe this technology of sending literally a video game in your blood to your immune system saying, hey, this is a simulation. This could kill you. Try to fight it. They discovered that, wait, so when we see the signal, we shouldn't become crazy? Oh, let's stop attacking our own cells. So, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So maybe COVID is teaching us something about our bodies that will revolutionize medicine forever. Not just in COVID. We could maybe cure cancer. If that theory holds, the vaccine could become the universal cure. So we'll see. But people are like, doctors are astonished. They're like, what is this?
The 60 Minutes episode last Sunday, they were talking about that they're working now on a vaccine that would be effective on all coronaviruses, including the common cold. So, I haven't had a cold. I haven't had a flu. I haven't had anything since I've been on lockdown because I've kept
lockdowns don't work. Lockdowns don't work. Lockdowns don't stop the spread. And you tell everybody, do you have kids, Senator Paul? Yes, I do. Have you had any gastroenteritis in the past year? No. Why do you think?
Yes.
Go.
Right, right.
The
I hate
masks
this guy.
are beautiful. I mean, look at the
Senator.
masks. We all had the flu. The flu this year was almost non-existent because we had a mask.
Yeah. Oh, washing your
Yeah.
hands. People discovered the concept of washing your hands.
That was special. That was very special, Rick. Yeah, that
Because
was
I
very
can guarantee
special.
you when you work and you go to the bathroom that you share with other companies, you're like, why? Why did you aim at the wall? I don't get it. Explain why you did that.
Rick, you
I
are
could
so
get so
crazy.
angry in toilets. So there you go. Yeah, no,
Right.
let's
All
hope
right,
for the
baby.
This
best.
is a culture thing.
All right, we'll
Good
talk to
night.
you soon.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Good
Good
night,
night.
guys.
Good
See
night.
y'all next week.
Good night.